'89, no social media. You got TV, a couple channels you got in in Iran we have 2 channels, and it's both ran by the government. So they control propaganda, what to tell you, Macbeth America, how terrible America is, and the evil empire, and all this other stuff.
But you had Voice of America that they were able to get.
We couldn't get it. We only had the 2 channels, right, that we could get in Iran. But today, you got social media, right? So when you're seeing social media where kids have access to it in different parts of the world, and some countries are not happy about the fact that they have, social media platforms are available there. Do you think that's maybe the reason why some countries are just sitting there saying, you've seen what happened with Trump in 2016 and him coming out with, the campaign that he had and was successful, him beating a Hillary Clinton type of a caliber person, which was, this is not going to happen. This is David versus Goliath. Do you think this is why you're seeing a lot of Millets? Do you think this is why you're seeing the Orban? Do you think this is why you're seeing Maloney? Do you think this is why you're seeing folks that are kind of seeing what's happened in America, where other countries, citizens are like, look, I kind of want that. That makes sense to me. These other ideas are not making sense to me. So it's harder for the establishment today to keep control because of social media versus what it was in '89. Oh,
absolutely. I think that Bolsonaro doesn't win in Brazil in the previous cycle if it's not for Facebook. I think that a lot of these leaders, that these populist, anti-establishment leaders, many on the right, some on the left, you look at AMLO and now Sheinbaum in Mexico, same basic playbook, right? Which is the establishment is corrupt and entrenched. There's a deep state. They don't care about you. We're going to do something completely different. That's how they win. And I think that that social media and the ability to communicate directly with the people with comparatively limited amount of funds available is a completely, it's a game changer and it undermines the establishment in a lot of these places.
So so the establishment, if we go through themselves, like and I want to get your thoughts on this here, where the concern is. One of the things that Trump did, you saw Jim Acosta just got fired, whatever you want to call him, stepping away from CNN, booted, midnight, whatever you want to call it. It's a way of saying, look, if you're going to quit, we're okay with it. What do you want to do? Go ahead. We don't have to pay the severance and all this other stuff. So he walks. Okay. But he's the OG guy with fake news, right? You're fake news. You're fake news. And then Trump started saying fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news. And then, oh, shit. He exposed a company Ted Turner started that was a very successful company, CNN. Mm-hmm. And now they're $400 million down. They're letting go of 200 million people, 200 employees. MSNBC, now for sale. CNN, now for sale. Fox, top 500 of 500 shows since, I think, Election Day, November 5th, have been all Fox shows. Yeah. And the first one is 507, I think was somebody that was CNN. I don't know who it was. Why do you think, folks who before were like, well, no, this is how you got to think. No, I got to take this shot. No, I got to do this. No, this is what they're telling me to do. The level of disruption of social media to the establishment and media, not just social media, media. What effects do you think social media has played for people to kind of start saying, wait a minute, I don't believe you. You're full of shit. You just try to play games with me. You lied. No, this is not cool what just happened here. And RFK, I'll never forget, first time Joe Rogan had Bobby Kennedy on his podcast, he says, I thought you were a kook. I think that's the word he used. He says, I thought you were a kook before I had you on here. I'm like, who is this guy? What are you talking about? Vaccines are good for you. All this stuff is good for you. And then, like maybe he's got something interesting to talk about. Some of the stuff he's saying is kind of interesting. I'm interested. And then now, yesterday, his hearing, one of the guys says, RFK, Robert, would you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist? And he says, a lot of people say that, but was I a conspiracy theorist when you guys were told, we were all told that vaccines, if you take it, you won't be able to give the virus to another person? Did I get that wrong? How about the red eye when you guys, the red dye, did I get that wrong? How about when you guys said this? He's kind of going through it, right? Yeah. Do you think the chokehold, the establishment, media, even our educational system had on the populace, they've now Trump and others have broken, and these guys don't know how to get control back of it like they used to once have.
So I'm a political scientist, not an epidemiologist. So I'm not in a good position to try to debate on where RFK is and isn't right or wrong. But I will tell you more.
That's actually not where I'm going.
I know.
I'm not going to that.
I understand,
right.
But I'm saying more broadly,
right,
in terms of whether I think the establishment media has gone way too far on a bunch of issues. You look at the COVID starting with a lab leak in Wuhan, China. And that was something that clearly was a narrative that the establishment media decided that they did not want to go ahead with. And I think they did a lot of damage to themselves as a consequence of that, as the Biden administration itself, in the last weeks of their presidency, did a study and came out and said, yeah, this looks actually very plausible to us. Well, they weren't saying that, a couple of years ago. I think those sorts of things undermine. I think that when Fauci was aware that that N95 masks could be effective, but other masks weren't, and he wasn't saying that to the people because he didn't want to cause panic and there weren't enough of them. Well, that comes back and bites you in the ass. When you're not being transparent and accountable to people. Now, more broadly than the stuff around disease and epidemiology, is I think that the Democrats have gone way too far on a bunch of issues that do not align with where the base of the country actually is, the base of the population. I think the Republicans have done that on one big issue, right? For the Republicans, it was abortion. Mm-hmm. We had, for 50 years, Roe versus Wade. Call it settled law, call it unsettled law. It was very messy, right? And it made nobody completely happy, but it happened to reflect where the average American was on abortion. And therefore, it was a pretty good compromise. And when a whole bunch of Republicans decided that they were going to push the bounds, they ended up losing in a lot of different places, right? And Trump and Vance worked really hard to pull that back over the last campaign and say, hey, we're not trying to do a national abortion ban and stuff like that. Well, the Democrats got over their skis on every identity issue, right? They went way, way farther than the average American was willing to tolerate. They ended up getting completely captured by a small number of elite, well-educated progressives in urban centers, and they lost the rest of the country on those issues. On migration, they completely lost the country and decided they were going to stand for some progressive values that the average American would not tolerate. And I think that when you do that, and when the media that supports you reflects that, you lose Americans. Now, is the answer to be found on social media, given, sort of the I'll do my own research, I don't need to be credentialized, there's massive amounts of verified people that aren't really people, they're bots, that they're algorithmically, you're promoting an immense amount of disinformation? No, I don't think social media is a better answer for civil society. I don't think that we will become more unified by leaning into algorithmic learning. But I do think that establishment media, mainstream media, has destroyed their credibility in the United States over the past 10 years.
Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic, I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker, you question things, you like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.